All right, so this is the first time our vinyls come in contact with the wall. And you can get pretty aggressive with it. I mean, definitely put some pressure on it, especially if you're working on a textured wall like I am. It's going to be a little bit harder. So definitely get down on it, especially with these smaller pieces. You definitely want to get it into the cracks and creases of that textured wall. You can do big, hard wipes down it. Really make sure that sticks on there. Alright, and what you can do now is, this is where the tennis ball is going to come into play. Alright, what this is going to do is pretty much push the decal into the crevices and things like that better than you can with the squeegee of your hand. So simply just place it up against the wall with pressure, just roll it up and down. Alright, you want to pretty much try to squish the tennis ball with your hand, like you're trying to pop it. And you'll notice, I mean, it's probably hard to see here, but maybe if you can get a close-up on it, right here, like in the O's, it is getting to the texture of the wall a lot better than it was before. So you can kind of see there the texture in the wall kind of coming through. That's definitely going to give it that painted on look. Okay, really focus on the small parts here, especially down into the roots here, because the smaller the surface area, the harder it is for it to stick to the wall. Okay. Now, once that's done, you can pretty much take all your tape off, because here your anchor is going to be this. So this is now your anchor to the wall. All right. And you can remove the big piece as well. We don't need that any longer. Be careful not to pull the transfer tape off when you're doing it though. Alright, so now all we have is the half decal stuck to the wall and the half that is still with the backing on it. Take your squeegee just like you did on the first part and get the rest of that vinyl stuck on there. Alright, now what you're going to do now is you're going to flip this over and then peel the backing off the opposite direction as you did the first time. So flip it over to where the anchor point is on the wall. And if you want to step over here, you can watch me. This part gets a little tricky because you're going to have to pretty much work backwards and really pay attention to anything coming up, because you're not going to see it until it's pretty much already off. Alright, this is actually working pretty well for me here. Alright, now just pay attention to the roots down here. And we are good. Alright, pull that off completely. Take your squeegee and pretty much do exactly what you did the last time, but go in the opposite direction. Okay, so I'm going to step over here for you. Alright, and simply just work it across. Nice short strokes, left to right, moving up and down. Okay, make sure that the other part that you're holding does not make contact with the wall, because it'll want to stick, and that's when you can possibly get creases or bubbles or anything like that that you don't want. Alright. Alright, so we pretty much got a soft stick now, just like we did with this side. We're just going to go back through and get really hard into there. If you live in an apartment, it's probably not something you want to be doing at night. But we live in a house, so I don't think the garage is going to mind the noise. Definitely, once again, pay attention to the smaller parts. You can even kind of dig your corner of your squeegee in there to get a lot of pressure on it. And then once more, just some big, hard wipes on it. And then you can go back over to the original part of the decal as well. Do a couple more on that side. This side, this step you really want to take your time with, because this is really going to determine how good it sticks and make the next step a lot easier. So once again, you can take your tennis ball, press down hard, and go over, especially the small pieces on the lettering, and just overall the entire decal. This does start hurting your hand after a while. You really have to put pressure on it to really get it to flatten out and get into those creases. You can slide it, it does work, just not as good as when you roll it. All right, so I'm pretty comfortable with that. Now the next part is taking this transfer paper off. This is everyone's least favorite part. This is my least favorite part. This is the step where you can really mess up your project. So once again, the key is just to go slow, be attentive, and pay attention, really. So if you want to come in a little bit closer, before you get started, you always want to kind of examine your design to pick which side you want to pull from. For this one, obviously, you don't want to pull at sharp corners or areas with small areas. So with this one, it's very clear to see. You're either going to want to go from the top right down, or the top left down, or just the top straight down. I'm going to go the top right down, just for personal preference. But actually, I'm going to go top left down just so it'll be easier to film over here. So simply just take your finger, get over the transfer paper, and you want to pull away at a 180-degree angle, right? Pull away from it. Don't ever pull up, you want to pull away. Now if you focus on the corners, that's where you're going to get the most trouble, okay? It'll want to start to lift on you a little bit, and give it a little bit more pull to see if it lets go. If it does, perfect, like mine did. If not, simply lay the transfer paper back over. Here, I'll give you an example. If this didn't want to work with me, I would have simply just walked it back over and got back in there with the transfer paper, hit it back down a little bit, and try again. You might, like I said, same thing with taking it off the transfer paper. You might have to try 3 or 4 times to get it to stick, but be attentive, be careful with it, and be patient with it. You don't want to go too fast and mess it up. Okay, slowly but surely, just keep pulling away. Like I said, I'm not pulling hard. This isn't hard to pull off. I'm not giving a lot of pull, but you just want to go slow and be attentive. Also, when you're coming into different areas, like this one for example, always pay attention, because you can be focusing on this, making sure it's not coming up, and you could be pulling this corner off. So always be examining where you're pulling across the entire decal. Okay, mine looks like we're doing pretty well. All right, that corner kind of came up a little bit, but it laid back down, so we're still good. All right, that one did the same thing, but we're still good. Just go slow. I mean, this isn't a race. This is definitely a marathon, not a sprint. Also, pay attention to these little bitty small parts, like in the lettering. Those are going to be a problem spot as well. That one stuck on just fine, so we're good to keep moving. All right. Just keep chugging along here. Also be careful on those sharp corners. That one didn't give us any trouble. We did that one, so we're still good. All right, perfect. This one didn't work with us. Want to get a close-up on this? See how this one didn't lay back down like it was supposed to? Easy fix. Just push it back down, try again. See, that one didn't give us any trouble, so we're just gonna keep on moving. If it would have kept coming up, I would have laid the transfer paper back over, run it with the squeegee a couple more times, and tried it again. Okay, that little corner's giving us some trouble, but it laid back down, so we're still good to go. If you're familiar with car decals, or you've ever put anything on your back window, of anything solid or like a laptop or anything like that, these are going to behave differently. Do not expect your wall vinyls to go on exactly like your car vinyls, because these vinyls are specifically designed to not damage the paint on your walls. That way when you move to a different apartment, different house, you can take these off. There's not going to be any evidence of there ever being a wall vinyl here. So they're literally made with the least amount of adhesive as physically possible for them to stick on here. So they're pretty much going to stick on there until you want to move them, and then they're going to move. Okay, they're not going to just fall off the wall, but when you're ready to move and go on, they're going to come off for you. So, like I said, just keep working along here. We're looking good so far. You can tap down spots that have kind of come up a little bit. We're through all the letters here, so we just want to keep moving along. Like I said, slowly. Alright, now we're going to get into the roots. These are small pieces, so it's going to be easy for them to pick up on you, but same thing as up top. Just be attentive. If they kind of try to stick up on you, just kind of put them back down. Keep moving along. Alright, I got one coming up on us. Just kind of work with it. This is going to give us some trouble, especially on the longer ones. If you just want to hold an anchor point and then just smooth it down, that's completely fine. Especially with these long, thin ones, you might have to do that a couple times. And we're off. Now we're not done. So what I would recommend doing is taking that same microfiber you used to clean it, not the wet side of course, but just the dry side, and just kind of pat down, rub down the big areas. Don't rub on the small areas like in the letters, but the big areas, definitely go in and put some pressure on after the installation. Now I'm probably sure this is hard to see on camera, but if you want to kind of get a close-up, like right here still, okay, see how you can kind of see some texture through it? But if we go over with the rag, that wall texture really comes out on it. You can really see the texture underneath the wall. It's really going to give it that painted on look. So you just want to keep rubbing across it like that, rubbing down and away from any intricate parts. Okay, and you can kind of come down through the roots here and do the same thing. Like I said, always down and away. You never want to go towards something sharp. You never want to go towards a sharp edge. Like I would never want to come up like this because I can rip it right off. Okay, and then when you get to the letters, you can kind of just pat. Just pat it down, make sure nothing's coming off and everything is stuck down and looking good. Okay. So this is looking really, really good. One final step, completely optional, but something I like to do, especially since my walls are a little bit more textured than normal, is go one more time over with the tennis ball, kind of pressing down on it. And this is really, really going to make the texture on the wall pop. This is really going to make it look painted on as opposed to something stuck on. This is probably my favorite part, is to see the actual texture of the wall popping underneath the vinyl. Really gives it that painted on look. This is really beneficial for the roots. I'll step over here. Really roll it down with the roots. Make sure those little bitty pieces are getting into every crevice and holding on as tight as they can. It looks like we're good to go. All right, so there we have it, folks, the finished product. If you're interested in purchasing this specific wall vinyl or any other wall vinyls that you might be able to think of, we do custom work. Please reach out to us on any of the links down below. If you have any questions, comments, please reach out to us via the comments or by shooting us an email. I'm Justin with JDC Decals, and thank you for watching.
Whoop.
I'm putting that in there.